Learning should be a journey that allows learners to experience the world around them and help them create meaning from it. As educators, we have an innate drive to enlighten, to guide, and to help students discover meaning for themselves. However, our visions sometimes hit a classroom wall that looks significantly different than what we had in mind. Most classrooms continue to be represented with desks in rows facing the teacher and the teacher dispersing knowledge to students. Most curriculum is compartmentalized and subjects are taught in isolation from one another. Learners need to make sense of information that is presented to them out of context, and then they are tested on this information in a superficial manner. Many times, information is memorized for the needed time and then forgotten as it was never truly internalized and transferred to existing schemas. Students are being affected by this type of teaching. They are disconnected from the learning process, and rightly so. Their personal world collides with the school world, and a huge abyss results from that. Learners become disconnected and their enthusiasm for learning drops. Their input is given little value unless it ties directly to what has been predetermined correct or incorrect. As educators, how can we make learning more relevant for students? Learner-centered design is an educational model that allows learners to be part of the learning process. Critical thinking and active learning are emphasized as assignments are based on practical, everyday things. Teachers are no longer the bearers of all knowledge. They now support the students and facilitate the learning. They become fellow travelers in the search of knowledge with their students. This creates a shift in mentality as teachers are no longer pondering how to better their teaching, but instead how to improve student learning. The goal is to allow students to become lifelong capable learners that can understand their strengths and weaknesses. Learners become self-directed and have a say in what interests them and how they pursue these topics for learning. This creates a shift for students as they move from being passive learners to becoming active learners, and it allows the students to make sense of what they are learning. What's more, learners will then have to reflect on their own learning. They will have to become aware of their own learning skills and know which ones need to be developed. Students will now have control over their learning. They will realize the amount of work that goes into it. Project-based learning is an instructional teaching model that incorporates the components found in learner-centered design. Real-world problems or scenarios are used as a means to guide student learning. It allows for teaching that is cross-disciplinary or theme-based. Knowledge needs to be transformed and constructed as students inquire and investigate the problem posed. Students have the responsibility to take the lead on their research and decide the amount of time that is devoted towards their final project. Final projects and presentations are required of students, and these are usually carried out in front of actual community members that offer valuable advice on the solutions presented. Through problem-based learning, learners work together in cooperative or social groups, creating the opportunity for students to engage in conversations. Research and areas of study are led by student inquiry on the problem presented. As you can see, learning becomes authentic as students need to provide solutions to real-world problem scenarios. So how does learner-centered design and project-based learning affect students? By employing these methods of teaching that are learner-centered, students are acquiring the skills needed for the 21st century. Many of these skills are ones that prepare students for the workplace. 21st century skills include collaboration, teamwork, flexibility, critical thinking, problem-solving, communication, adaptability, and digital literacy. By incorporating project-based learning into the classroom, teachers are providing learners the opportunity to foster the skills needed for today's world. Much like a real workplace, through problem-based learning, students learn to work with others, to communicate, to problem-solve, and to be flexible as teamwork is encouraged. Incorporating information and computer literacy through problem-based learning becomes an authentic task as students use the internet to research. Using applications like Google Docs allows learners to create a living document where team members share information gathered. The presentation of their projects could incorporate some type of PowerPoint presentation or even the creation of a website. The use of movies is another option that learners could use to present information. Problem-based learning helps develop the skills learners need for the 21st century. Does this teaching model sound like something that you would be willing to try? Are you having questions like, where do I begin? What problem do I present? What resources will be required? This website contains several links to problem-based learning that are divided by subjects and by grade levels. It provides you with the opportunity to gradually immerse yourself in this new journey of problem-based learning without the need to sink before you have had the chance to swim. You will also find ways to begin making small, meaningful changes in the direction of a more learner-centered classroom. You can begin to see the difference for yourself as your students begin to respond positively to the new changes. You will also find a unit of study that is very comprehensive and lists everything that you will need to make a project successful. It also lists the hurdles that you can encounter as you embark on this new learning method. The unit of study provides guiding questions as well as solution statements to help lead student engagement. Even though this might seem very scripted and not authentically learner-generated, it is a great tool to help you get started. It can serve as a practice run for your future projects. Children are naturally inquisitive. Learner-centered design allows for schools to continue to foster their natural curiosity. Problem-based learning sets the stage for students to guide their learning by what interests them. So let's get started. We can begin forging world leaders that have communication skills that address our global society. Technology can help foster these skills. We can provide our students the many opportunities to become 21st century learners through a learner-centered design such as project-based learning. Please explore the rest of this site for great ideas, links, and videos to help you begin your journey to a more learner-centered design classroom.